If you stand in Dubai today looking up at towers that seem to pierce the sky, watching cars glide down boulevards lit like a sci-fi film, it's easy to assume this place was born rich. But step back just one lifetime, and the way was a chain of small fishing villages, communities living off the sea, off pearls, off trading journeys that came and went with the monsoon winds. And the question that truly made the world pay attention wasn't, they have oil, but how did they turn oil into a wealthy, stable, influential country, rather than a place that booms and collapses with the price of crude? That's where the way's story becomes compelling, an incredibly fast transformation in modern history, where speed didn't come from magic, but from strategic choices, state building, geography, and a distinctly pragmatic way of thinking about the future. Imagine the Arabian Peninsula before oil, sun, wind, sand, long coastlines, and oases that felt like rare breaths of relief. Life here was defined by scarcity, fresh water was as precious as gold, agriculture was limited, and survival meant negotiating with nature every day. Along the Gulf, many communities lived by fishing and pearl diving. Pearl diving was once an economic pillar, creating trade networks that reached far beyond the region. But it was also fragile, dependent on weather, seasons, market demand, and shifts local people couldn't control. When cultured pearls arrived and markets changed, many places fell into hardship. The way before it was even, the way was caught in that same spiral. The turning point came with oil, but oil was only a door opening, not a road already paved. What mattered was how the way stepped through that door. When oil fields were discovered and developed, enormous wealth began to flow in. For many countries, getting rich too fast is like taking a powerful drug. It can cure poverty, but it can also become addictive, distort institutions, create a one-source economy, and produce a consumer society before the foundations are built. The way recognized that risk early. They understood oil is finite, while the demands of a modern nation are not. So the challenge wasn't spend it lavishly, but invest so you can survive when oil is no longer the center. But before talking about skyscrapers, sovereign funds, or airline brands, there's a deeper foundation to understand. The way is not a single, uniform state in the way many assume. It's a federation of 7 emirates, each with different levels of oil wealth and different geographic advantages. Abu Dhabi holds major reserves and serves as the financial backbone. Dubai has far less oil, which forced it to find a new path sooner. Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, Ajman, and Al Quwain each have their own strengths. That structure created a rare kind of competition and complementarity. One resource-rich center providing stability, and another that had to innovate to thrive. The federation formed a stable framework, while each emirate had room to experiment with development models. It's an institutional advantage many resource-rich countries simply don't have. Political stability is the first condition that turns money into development. Oil brings revenue, but if society is chaotic, if visions change every term, if policies jerk back and forth, money often evaporates into vanity projects or leaks through layers of inefficiency. The way built a type of stability based on a clear social contract. The state provides security, infrastructure, public services, and a high standard of living. In return, society operates under a strict order that prioritizes stability and growth. You can agree or disagree with this model, but it's hard to deny that in terms of development governance, it allowed the way to make decisions fast, execute quickly, and pursue long-term projects with fewer disruptions. From that stable base, the way did something many oil states talk about but struggle to do: diversification. And the way's diversification wasn't simply adding a few industries, it was about building new economic engines large enough to pull the entire system forward. Dubai is the clearest example. Once it realized oil could never be a permanent pillar, Dubai bet on becoming a global hub for trade, logistics, finance, tourism, and services. That bet may look obvious in hindsight, but at the time, it was bold. To become a hub, you must compete with places that have centuries of history, persuade multinational companies to set up shop, and pull global flows of people and goods through a land many once saw as a distant desert. The way turned geography into advantage. On the map, the Gulf sits like a connector between Asia, Europe, and Africa. From here, you can reach many major cities in a relatively short flight. For global commerce, that's gold. But geography is only potential. To turn potential into cash flow, you need infrastructure and policy. The way built ports, airports, highways, logistics zones, and just as importantly, it simplified the business experience. It created free economic zones where foreign firms could operate with clear legal frameworks, fast procedures, and incentives strong enough to make betting on the way a rational profit decision. When infrastructure and policy align, network effects appear. A company opens an office, and suppliers follow, banks follow, skilled workers follow, international schools, hospitals, and services follow. A new flight route opens, and tourists follow, shoppers follow, conferences and exhibitions follow. Over time, a service ecosystem forms, and that ecosystem makes the hub even more attractive. The way understands hub psychology in the global economy. Places that are easy to do business in, safe, and well-connected attract more people. And once enough people arrive, the system begins to run like a machine. Aviation became a symbol of that strategy. Instead of treating airports as mere infrastructure, the way treated aviation as a core industry that could turn the country into a crossroads of the world. A strong national airline doesn't just carry passengers. It carries tourism revenue, skilled professionals, business meetings, and national image across the globe. Airports become gateways for trade, conferences, and exhibitions. And when you draw major international events to one place, you're not only earning money from plane tickets or hotels, you're building legitimacy as a center. People begin to treat meeting in Dubai or Abu Dhabi as natural. Tourism, if it's only hotels and advertising, can surge and then fade. The way turned tourism into a design product. It didn't sell the desert as raw wilderness. It sold experience, shopping, global cuisine, entertainment, parks, beaches, sports events, art, festivals, architectural icons that people photographed to prove they were there. Many criticize this as pure spectacle, but strategically, it functions as extremely powerful national marketing. When the world sees a dazzling Dubai, it doesn't only see a place to spend money. It sees a country that can organize, build, and aim high. And in the global economy, image can be a real asset. But the way story isn't only Dubai. Abu Dhabi, with greater financial depth, played a different game. Long-term investment. The way didn't just spend oil it accumulated. It built sovereign wealth funds, bought stakes in assets around the world, and invested in technology, infrastructure, energy, and finance. This is how finite resources are converted into long-term income streams, and, more importantly, into influence. When you're a major investor, you don't just earn returns. You gain standing inside global economic power networks. And when the world shakes, a diversified portfolio reduces dependence on a single commodity like oil. Another factor, less glamorous but decisive, is how the way imported talent and turned it into an advantage. The Emirati citizen population is relatively small compared to the economy's scale. To build quickly, the country attracted workers from everywhere: engineers, finance experts, hotel managers, construction workers, doctors, teachers. This created a multinational society with an intensely globalized rhythm. To many, it's also a controversial model, raising questions about labor rights and social structure. But in pure development logic, the way achieved what many economies want but struggle to do: match its labor supply to each stage of growth, from large-scale manpower for infrastructure to high-end talent for finance and technology. And to keep skilled people, the way understood that high salaries alone aren't enough. Talent needs a smooth running life, security, healthcare, education, convenience, an international living environment, a sense that the future won't be trapped in disorder. The way invested heavily in urban quality through a service-oriented approach. Everything must be fast, clean, and clear, from airports to roads, from hospitals to shopping centers. That's what makes a foreign professional feel this is a place to live and work long-term, not just a temporary project. Still, you can't talk about the way without acknowledging the dark side of speed. Rapid growth always brings the risk of bubbles, dependence on capital flows, widening inequality, and vulnerability to external shocks like global financial crises or geopolitical volatility. The way has faced difficult periods when real estate shook and investor confidence was tested. In those moments, the Federation's structure and deep financial reserves showed their strength. The system could absorb a stumble, restructure, and keep moving. That's the difference between wealth by luck and wealth by risk management. Another fascinating shift is how the way continually writes its own story. When the early era was oil and infrastructure, and the next era was trade and services, the new era becomes technology, clean energy, and the knowledge economy. You hear the way talk about the future innovation, AI, space, smart cities. Some of it is branding, yes, but it reflects a real pressure. The world is moving away from fossil fuels, and every oil state must prepare for a day when oil is no longer an economic weapon. The way is trying to move early so that when the rules change, it isn't left behind. That leads to a question American and European audiences often ask. What kind of model is the way, really? If you treat it as a simple inspirational tale, you get from poor to rich. But if you look deeper, the way illustrates a colder principle of the modern world. Resources give you an opportunity. Lasting wealth comes from turning opportunity into a system. A system with rules clear enough for business to function. Infrastructure strong enough for commerce to move. Strategy pragmatic enough to choose the right sectors. The ability to attract international talent. And the discipline to accumulate for the long term rather than consume for the short term. That's also why the way is hard to copy. Many oil states have tried to build a Dubai, raise towers, open tourist zones, declare themselves a financial hub. But a hub can't be created by slogans. It's the result of thousands of small details working correctly at the same time. Procedures, legal certainty, security, global connectivity, service quality, crisis management, and a credibility that business feels over years. The way built that credibility by repeatedly proving it could deliver what it promised. In business, that is worth more than any advertising. There's another detail that makes the story compelling. The way turned harshness into a driver of innovation. The desert made water a survival issue, pushing solutions in water management, infrastructure, and urban design. Extreme heat forced cities to be designed for livability, transport, indoor space, daily comfort. Limited farmland pushed investment in supply chains, smart importing, and reserves. In a sense, the way became a laboratory of modern survival. When nature doesn't help you, you rely on organization and technology to compensate. And looking back, what makes the way special isn't only that it's rich, it's that it created a position. Wealth can come and go. A position inside global networks lasts longer. The way became a meeting point for trade, tourism, finance, and investment. When the world needs a neutral place to meet, when a company needs a gateway into the region, when a flight needs a hub, the way wants to be the first choice. It's an ambition rooted in economic geopolitics, pursued not only in words, but through infrastructure and policy. In the end, the most memorable image may be the contrast. On one side, fishing villages once living by tides and seasonal winds. On the other, cities living by flight schedules, financial market hours, and the calendar of international conferences. In just a few decades, the rhythm shifted from nature to globalization. And at the heart of that shift was a strategic choice. Not to treat oil as a destination, but as fuel to buy time, buy infrastructure, buy capability, and buy a future. If there's one sentence that captures the way's secret, it isn't, they have oil, but they know how to use oil to build an economy that can live without oil. And the most interesting part may be the next question already opening in front of them. As the world enters an era of new technology, new energy, and competition for influence, how will the way write its next chapter to keep its place when resource advantage is no longer a guaranteed ticket? That's why this story isn't finished. It's still moving like the night flights, leaving Dubai carrying a very modern message. In today's world, wealth isn't only what you have, but what you know how to sustain.